All right, first of all, I'd like to say that the Revelations is definitely the most fantastic and informative book in the Bible. Neglected by most Christians, it contains teachings on every important Bible doctrine. This study is not exclusive, but rather interpretation in such a simple terms that all of those that hear can understand the revelation. Not only is it the last book in the Bible, it is distinctive, different from all other books in our sacred Bible. And I say that just not to take too much time, but I will speak on the 16th chapter of Revelations, and I'm going to take just one verse because it takes too long to read all of the verses. But in verse 21 it says, "There fell upon man a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent, 115 pounds, and men blasphemed against God because of the pledge of the hail, for thereof were exceedingly great." Now, we hear the command for the pouring of the vials of wrath, the judgment that will terminate only when the whole empire of Satan and his antichrist have been broken to pieces. Verses 1 and 2. Pouring of the first vial, it costs a great source to break out on all who proudly have worn the mark of the beast. Men and women will be proud of that mark and of the beast, thinking that it's most fashionable. They will boast in this mark, will have one another. The Punisher will come, but every mark will identify all those that receive God's mark can escape the sword that will fall on. In verse 3, when the second vial is poured, water becomes as blood, and all the living things in the sea die. Remember, all food will be rationed and by the Antichrist, but retribution. There will be a disturbing food shortage that will cause panic and famine. In verses 4-7, all rivers and springs of fountains of water will become as blood, making the water unfit for consumption. Every judgment of God will be of retribution nature. In other words, as Scripture says, whatever a man sows, that shall he also reap. An angel shouts God's judgment, and they shed the blood of the saints, the prophets, and now let them drink blood, as if to say, you bloodthirsty rebels against God, you have wanted to give the earth a bloodbath. Now you swallow in it and bathe in it and drink it. Some may shudder at such a drastic judgment, but the righteousness of God as a demonstration will be apparent to all who are hard and hate sin. Verses 8 and 9. The sun is affected by the pouring of the vial, and the fourth angel, millions in our day, are sun worshippers and nudists that bathe in the sun, and they have defiled the civil laws of decency. Here again in retribution. Those who wants to play in the sunshine most certainly will get their fill of it. The heat of the sun will be so intense that it will cause wholesale sunstrokes among the people. And then comes retribution of sinful men. As man is burned by the heat of the sun, he turns his face towards God. Does he ask for mercy? Certainly not. He blasphemes and curses God. And verse 10, and the fifth vial is poured out on of the beast, whose kingdom is then filled with darkness. Retribution again. Men hate light, and they prefer darkness, so that the rebels prefer darkness to live in, along with the opposed of heat and the sun. God's holy light will be absent. This world, bold and outside a day of darkness, and those terrible judgments fail to turn men to God. They bit their tongues with pain. God, if judgment of the great tribulation failed to reform men on redemption of this information. Verse 12, the sixth valve is emptied on the river Euphrates, which is dried up, and is prepared to wait for the kings of the east to invade. The great river has been the barrier between nations for thousands of miles. The Euphrates has flowed deep and wide, providing military maneuvers of coming from the northern boundaries. But the land promised to Israel, now it is caused to be a barrier, ceased to be a barrier, and becomes a passageway for the rulers of the east. They will swim across the battle of Armageddon. And speaking of battle of Armageddon, I am a veteran of 2 world wars, World War II in Normandy, when we lost more men there than we did the entire war. And then I was MIA in Korea. But Armageddon here, now listen to this, verses 16 and 15. Next we see 3 unclean spirits out of the mouth of the dragon. They were prepared for the great battle and intends him to go forth to battle and against the satanic trinity who inspired men. Politicians and even preachers will influence them to stir up the people to a universal war. When we see nations gathered for battle of Armageddon, the greatest slaughter in history, even this will not be the last war. There will be one more, and Christ will end that one. And then wars will cease, and we will know what peace is. Verses 17 and 20. The last vial is poured out, and the word goes that it says, it is done. When Christ died on the cross, he cried out, it is finished. Now the judgments are to be finished, and God will bring about an end of all rebellions and the following of men. But as we go on further here, we can find out on just a minute something horrible. In 2004, we had hail that dropped here in Amarillo as far as the grapefruit and also as big as the cantaloupe. But you're going to see this here, that there will be earthquakes, and we see in that now. And it brings an earthquake. This quake divides Jerusalem into 3 parts. You recall that when the 2 witnesses were cast up into heaven, there was an earthquake which destroyed 1/3 of the city. But the earthquake is even greater. Of the nations crumbled, and it indicates that the entire earth will feel the effects of this turmoil, and the large cities, the mighty skyscrapers will raise. Babylon, the great center of the Antichrist, dominion will not come up for judgment until chapter 18 and 19 are devoted. But now here, verse 20 indicates that island, the Tyre mountains, will move by the earthquake, and great hailstorms will fall from heaven, adding to man's fear. Verse 21 gives a geographic description of the great hail that will weigh 115 pounds. Huge blocks of ice will fall upon the earth. But even such terrifying judgment will not turn men to God. For we read, they turned their face up and blasphemed against God. They cursed God because of this unpredictable hails of storm that fell. Now, I was going to make it short here because it takes more than this, but this is just an introduction. If you would like to hear more, and the whole book I have written, comment on the book of Revelation, I would be glad to share it with you if you let me know on the room that I'm in. So then, may God bless every one of you and may keep you for Him. God bless you, everyone.